So one of those figures that we've talked about before or exchanged emails about prior to the big change with the advent of the Lyme disease era was a character named Dr. Harry Hoogstraal, who was a giant in the field of perhaps one of the big people of the 20th century in terms of tick research.
Yes, Harry became our icon, our you can call him the godfather of ticks at that time, the great grandfather and so on. Harry was a wonderful mentor to us young people at the time. I first met him when I was a graduate student at the University of Maryland, and we kept up a pretty rigorous correspondence for years after that. And when he found out that I'd gotten into the subject of pheromones, he became very interested in having me help out with some of his Egyptian colleagues and scientists and technicians. And so we met again at a major international congress that was held in Kenya, in Nairobi. And at that time, I was, with Harry's help, was successful in getting a major grant on tick pheromones. And so I was invited to come to Cairo as a guest researcher, a scholar in residence, you might say, and spent about 3 weeks there. My wife came along, got herself a press credentials so that she could be an official representative and get around. And so I spent a lot of my time with Harry in the NAMRU 3. That was the Naval Medical Research Unit. We have 3 of them. One, I believe, is the one in here in Maryland, the Naval Medical Research Unit here. But I think 2 is in the Philippines and 3 is still there in Cairo, Egypt. And I spent many, many days in the lab doing research, working with the Egyptian scientists. And Harry was incredibly prolific. He was, you can visualize a large semicircular room with lots of windows. And the windows faced forward. And when Harry opened a window, there was a secretary typing away. This is before computers, you understand. And so he would hand out a written document. It could be a manuscript, it could be a letter. He was writing letters, incredibly prolific writer of correspondence. And I can't remember how many different secretaries are sitting out there so that he could go to one that was unoccupied and get some work done. And as he was producing work faster than any of them could carry out, can type it up and write it up. That's how prolific he was. And then we'd reach a point about mid-morning and suddenly the lights would turn off. And I'd ask people, what's going on? Do we have a power failure? No, we're just shutting down. Harry needs to rest. And he would work through the night. Harry was, his mind was churning away like Niagara Falls. I mean, it was just incredible how he was producing information. But eventually, you know, the old brain starts to wear down. And so since he didn't sleep well at night, and he had some physical ailments due to an injury he had suffered many years earlier in an auto accident, he'd need a nap during the day. And that would happen at least once a day. I recall many times it was twice a day, once in the morning and then again in the afternoon. And the lights would go back on. An hour later, everybody start mulling around, back to work. There were numerous other opportunities to interact with Harry. We'd have lunch together. A couple of times he invited me to dinner, and we'd socialize with people of so many different stripes, including members of the U.S. consulate who were expert in diplomatic issues. And I mean, I was just overwhelmed. I felt so just hard to keep up with the incredible knowledge and of exchange of ideas. And it was one of the most exciting times of my life. Mm. And when I arrived, I was pretty confident in my abilities. And I turned in some work to Harry, and I was shocked at the extent of how he had edited, almost like I was back in graduate school and needed retraining. The level of demand for perfection. You could not have a comma, you could not have a period out of place. Everything had to be in perfect English, and everything you need to check out carefully. The level of perfection that he demanded was such that when Harry submitted an article to a journal, the reviewers really didn't have much to do. And it was just understood that it is perfect.
It's remarkable. So, did he have students as well that worked with him?
Not to my knowledge. He didn't have any postdocs or pre-doc students. He mentored all of us in the manner that I just described, and he mentored the technicians. He expected perfection from his scientist hires, and there were many, as well as the technicians. And so we worked together. At the time I was working on pheromones, we had various tick species, live colonies in the lab back there. Some of them were parasites of different avian species, chickens, and I can't remember different kinds of birds that we used. And we would just tie their wings together and put ticks on them and do studies and do experiments.
Hmm.
And I would help them write this up and check out the quality of the information that they were putting down and interact with Harry on that. And so that was my role. It was a lot of fun.
It's a lot of the species you described were from Africa, yes?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He put out this monumental, almost Bible of its own on the ticks of Africa. Harry was a systematist by trade,
Mm-hmm.
so he was quite expert, but he went way beyond just simply identifying species and figuring out their phylogenetic relationships, also their biological importance, their medical importance, what pathogens they carried, where they came from, what were the risks for human and animal diseases, all of that. So he interacted with scientists of all categories. I mean, he could communicate with immunologists, he can communicate with the budding molecular biologists at that time, and certainly biochemists and whatever. And Harry really appreciated merit. He did not tolerate poor quality. So merit was high on his agenda.
So, did he pass away before Lyme disease? Before?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, he suffered from cancer, and I forget what kind. And so we saw him. The last time I saw him was in the hospital. Went to visit him in person, and it was he was very very courageous near the end. Didn't feel victimized or regretted anything about his life. He was very congenial. I think he knew it was coming, and it did.